Daily Spell. And tonight we're going to be speaking with Lyz Tory. Now, last night I bailed out early. We talked about the interdimensionality. I want to revisit it. I've had several people come up forward with it. But tonight we're going to talk Oscars. And as you know, we had a bit of an Oscar special. We were, in our first year, so that was really good. And Lyz Tory's been working with us and helping develop. She did, some horror films. She's been working with us in developing film along this project. But now tell us. Okay, so tell us about your venture. How do you get here first?
How did I get here?
Yeah, in front of us today.
Uh, well, I've enjoyed watching this grow. I've enjoyed watching Pagan World grow, and I wanted to be a part of it. Wherever I would fit, and ultimately, I want to make people laugh. That's always been my goal because I feel like laughing has this beautiful healing energy. It's just something that's innate in human beings. When we laugh, we get through a lot more than when we cry. And so I just want to be that person that makes people laugh. Ultimately, I'm just a jester, a fool. And I saw a way to provide that for pagan folk. And for me, that's my family. That's where I belong.
Hmm.
So I'm glad to be able to come along and share my love of pop culture, my love of everything that is fun and funny. Horror on another hand, I grew up with horror. With
Oh
my
yeah.
grandmother used to watch horror, and she would point out all these monster movies and scary sci-fi movies from the '60s and the '70s, and I fell in love with them. And there's something in that gothic imagination that ties in with I guess I would say my pagan mentality. This
Mhm.
natural world that there's, like Shakespeare said, there's much more under the stars than men can ever see.
Most people don't realize it, but me and my daughter developed our own franchisable character, a full background for a serial killer called Cool Row. And,
Cool.
Cool Row and his little dummy phobia, and he's a circus clown. He was raised by his mother and his aunt, and it was hard to tell them apart. When his aunt passed away, his mother screamed until she, screamed her death because, oh my God, her
Oh,
sister was right there, Siamese twins. Oh yeah, it goes on. And Kuro has only one little twisted piece in his mind. He loves to listen to people laugh. It just turns him on to no end. He can't hardly tell the difference between a scream and a laugh. It all sounds the same to him.
that sounds really
Oh
interesting.
yeah, we've done that. So I actually took it to Salem and things like that. So this love of horror is out there for a lot of people. But let me go ahead and there seems to be a lot of people in Pagan World working with Don, and looks like we're going to have really a good horror on Fridays and Saturdays. We're going to
Ooh,
see. I think we're going to see it. They're going to talk about all sorts of things. So I think we'll see that in the Pagan World. But Oscars, why is it okay? So I saw the big winner last night was Everywhere, Everything, and uh,
yes.
that movie, which I have not seen yet. Um, but
It's
every
beautiful sci-fi. I in a nutshell, it's beautiful sci-fi.
okay. I don't care about spoilers. Spoilers alert if there's anything accidental. But what I understand from the outside, it's really a multi-dimensional story about just sort of like almost like something called the manifestation of the singularity. Yeah, it's like what it would be like if the singularity was right there. Crossing dimensions and stuff.
Yes.
But why was it important for that one? Because everybody talks about it being the first Asian. Some of the first Asians that have won Asian actors and actresses have won awards. The movie won award for sci-fi, which is pretty rare in Oscars. What is the Oscars? I mean, for people who don't understand, what is the whole point of the Oscars?
So the whole point of the Oscars, it's ran by SAG, the Academy of Arts and Sciences in Film.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that we it's to celebrate actors and filmmakers together. And it was one of the first awards that was created for that. and it's just for actors to come together and filmmakers to come together, all of the unions to come together and sit down and say, "Oh, well, we really appreciated your artwork in this film, and we really appreciated your artwork in this film. And oh, how did you get to the crafting of this?" So it came about as self appreciation in the community of performers and filmmakers, if that makes sense.
Sure it does. I mean, that's a good idea. And yet now it's this riveting, so important event every year. I mean,
Yeah,
outside of the Super Bowl, I believe it's the second largest watched event in the generates from the United States. Hmm?
you're absolutely right. For me, the Oscars, I see them breaking glass ceilings each and every year. It's about that progress in this world that I'm a member of. As a craftsperson, we like to see progress. We like to see more diversity. This year, with everything, everywhere, all at once, winning as many categories as it did, it swept through. And for me, we just went through, if we back up and look at what we went through with just a few years ago with the Stop Asian Hate movement. you
Hmm.
know we have had Asian people in our country since the beginning, because we are a country of immigrants,
Hmm.
but we have not appreciated them as much as we should have been appreciating them. They were still treated like lower class citizens. I mean, even so much that we had to have Stop Asian Hate movements happen. And that was just because a snowball effect from them speaking about COVID. You know, we
Hmm.
saw the same thing during World War II when we had the Japanese concentration camps happen. So it's we haven't appreciated our Asian brethren. And this year, with everything happening with the Academy Awards, when Michelle Yeoh, who won Best Actress, won, one of the things she said was, "If you look like me, just know that this can be you." Having someone there as a child to look up to makes a huge difference, and it helps you believe, yes, I can. Now we can get into the politics of the Oscars, and we can, yes, uh professionals will say, okay, I'm voting for this one because of this, because of that, because of this. And sometimes it's not because it is the best film. Now, in my opinion, Everything Everywhere All at Once was one of the best films this year,
Hmm.
bar none. In the past year, it topped for a reason, because it came in and it was a phenomenal movie. And it spoke not only to that sci-fi part of me, it also spoke to that human part of me. It was all of these different dimensions coming into one, and it was just mind-bending, and for that to come in and win the Oscars the way it did, not only with having our first Asian American become the best actor, the best actress, but also getting to see a sci-fi movie break through like this. It's rare. It is truly rare. So it's different genres coming in and being held this year.
Because in most Oscars, like the best actor, best actress, and best movie are wrapped around dramas usually, or
Yes.
oftentimes the big, heavy, like like the whale this time. I guess that was like
Yes.
it, like was didn't really do Fraser. Okay, right, Fraser. Yeah,
Yeah.
got his
Brendan
win.
Fraser.
All right, got his sort of thing, but that's tends to be more of a movie. people are recognized because I'm used to the idea of Oscars being like this big night. Everybody sits around, eats popcorn and other junk food, and way too many bottles of wine, and they get to see how they get to do it. And I think that's just, a lot of it's still the same tradition. But also at the same time, I also hear this is where I think a lot of diversity does get introduced to American households because unlike the Super Bowl, which has all these great commercials and they're doing better with theirs. This is a place where people dream to become. I mean, every kid at one moment dreams about being an actor, even if it's not their life pursuit. Everybody thinks about what it would be like to be on that big screen. And
Yes.
I've actually been on the big screen. Actually, I've been. It's a surreal event. There's a movie called Hoopstead, and I was at a film festival and saw my face on the screen. Like, okay, we don't want to do that one quite the same way again. But
There's nothing like getting to see yourself on the big screen.
uh,
Really isn't. It's I don't know. Uh,
but you're okay. So let's talk about one more thing that you did. We've talked about the Oscars. It's important in culture because it does present that diversity. But you're also doing something called, if I understand, the Divine Comedy Church or the Comedy Church.
oh, Comedy Church,
Let's
yes.
talk about this.
I yes. I am producing Tuesday Thomas, a stand-up comedian who's a friend of mine. You may know her, or people may know her watching this from TikTok as Tranma. Ask Tranma anything. Tuesday Thomas created Comedy Church, and she created a 501(c)(3), and what it does is it worships the healing power of laughter. Their god is haha, the laughter itself,
Mhm.
because it is divine.
Mhm.
I see it as a break of Dionysian temple for me. That's what it feels like, because it's an amazing event. We have different stand-up comedians that come in, and for an hour to 90 minutes they tell you jokes, and we are just in the room together and we just laugh. We have been producing this so that we can show it on Pagan World TV. Uh, I'm excited to unveil this because for me, it really is where it matters. Just to be able to sit around, enjoy being human beings, and laughing together. There's something that goes all the way back to before we walked around standing straight.
Oh, I was making a joke the other day that they have 390 chimpanzees, the
Mhm.
Victoria Upper Reserve. They've discovered they had 390 words. They're really the top notch of it. But I guarantee,
Wow.
yeah, they do. The utterance and things like that, binomials and trinomials. They really have seen like they have this like that. But the next day I said, I wonder how many words they have: shit, piss, and farts. Because those got to be like the words there, right? And everybody looks at me like,
Yes,
and
yes.
they go, "What?" You go, "Oh yeah, they got to be telling each other fart jokes." I mean, yeah, they're chimpanzees.
Ha yes. Shakespeare did dick jokes. There's a that's what we if ever in doubt, pull a Shakespeare, huh? Tell a dick joke.
Yeah, there you go. And but we do see that the idea of laughter very deep a part of it, and it also seems to be. It's very interesting the idea of a comedy church or that sort of thing, because I do feel like one of the things that you see in oppressive societies is that they may go after diversity, they may go after a lot of things, but one of the things they go off very, 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 very early is the ability to laugh at things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at any of the more what you call totalitarian movements, long before you
Mhm.
start seeing them attitudes towards the minority, whatever the straw men they're pulling, and it could be awful. It's
Yes.
right, like the drag queens today, but there's always the straw man, the thing that they're
Yep.
going to fight against. It has nothing to do
Yep.
with and whatever it really is behind it. It isn't, and they take away the comedy. First, they belittle it, and then they make it take away the comedy, the ability to retaliate through satire, through comedy, and that's something. So that's really vital to keep that laughter alive.
Yes. Throughout history, comedy has been seen as some of the strongest oppositions of power.
Hmm.
because through laughter we can break down anything. And the opposite side of whoever comedy is protesting is, let's just belittle it. Creating that disrespect for comedy and thinking it's really not hard work.
Hmm.
What that does is they try to take away the power of the comedians, because the comedians are the ones that say ridiculous things about what's going on. That's really our job. We look around and we see ridiculous things happen, and we need to make a joke about it, and it's something natural. And then we take that joke, and our process is usually, okay, get it down on paper. Now that you have it on paper, how can I craft it? All right, I've crafted this remark, but it splits the room. So you have to go back and you have to try it out. How can I do this without splitting the room? Splitting the room is basically when we say something and half of the people enjoy it and half of the people do not. Comedians don't really like doing that. We like saying strong things and shocking things that make people moan and groan, but we want them to moan and groan together. We don't want half the room to be upset and half the room to be laughing. We want them to laugh. So then we have whatever we're complaining about, whatever we want to point out that's ridiculous, and we need to do it in a way that kind of makes everybody laugh. And a lot of times is taking yourself, showing what you are in society, and making yourself the butt of the joke.
I can understand that. I actually have comedy pieces. People don't realize I actually have a set of comedy pieces
That's not
out
so.
on the. It's called the Right Richard Reverend Riser. You know, 4 hours make
Ooh,
a 4 hours make a circle, and that's my logic. He runs the Uptown Bar Grill and Church, Baptist Church. Yes,
that's cool.
and he's I've got like 7 or 8 episodes, and he's a doom singer. He believes that yeah. And then in my comedy, I usually like the viral, the viruses protect this dreaded art of evolution, and it is God's way of taking us out. Because remember, until we're all taken out on this planet, none of us are going to heaven. So let's hope we get taken out quickly.
That's hilarious.
And if you were to sin, you can go to God, and God loves the small widow who comes forward. He does. He absolutely adores her. Says, "What did you do in your life?" He says, "I was good with it. I was good with my children. I was good with my grandchildren." And God said, "Well, that is such a nice thing. Here you go. Go into heaven." And then comes up somebody like me, a sinner, and he goes like this. God said, "What did you do?" "Oh, I've done a lot of things, God. I sinned a lot." He goes, "Here, let's sit down. Sit down right here. Tell me about it." And because God is bored. And this is right, Richard Trevor. God's bored, so we want to make sure we have good stories to tell him. God gave us the right to sin and be forgiven for sin, so let us use that right extensively.
That's genius. That
Yeah,
really is genius.
and so I did that for a while, but people asked me to stop doing it because and this is right before the right really rose up, and people said, "People are going to believe you." And so it's that sort of thing. Oh yeah, asteroids, diseases. Just about how we're going to be. Every one of the stories is about let's be taken out. God's way of freedom. So I have a big, and that the only comedy I ever did. I tried to be. So I went through that process for a little bit. I really tried for like 3 years to be funny. I went, to class and everything else. And finally says, "Stop it." And he told me, he said, "You're fascinating. People like to listen to you because you've got all these weird stories, you got all these ideas. Stop trying to be funny. Do your own thing." And I've had a better time since then with broadcasting and things like that.
It
Hmm?
makes sense because you are naturally funny.
Hmm.
You have that natural timing to yourself. I've enjoyed listening to your jokes on other occasions, and not only jokes, but your stories, and they naturally come out. So yeah, I could see why they gave you that
Yeah,
advice. Just be
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. Don't try to be a stand-up comedian. You just don't have. You just
Oh well, I
it's.
wouldn't say that.
Well, they were saying that it wasn't just. It was about me finding things that I was good at, not trying to try to do the
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah.
Or the difficult. Like I'm trying to write a song right now, so people like to celebrate. So you're a real. So let me go ahead and get into this. So when we talk to you, you're a real actress. I mean, you carry a card, right? You're
Yes,
right.
yes. I am a SAG card carrying actor.
Right. And so is actress where we should be calling all of them, or is it the term actress or people in this day and age of diversity, what is the really kind of where
I
we should be at?
use I use the term actor whenever I'm speaking with people. I don't do a lot of gender in whenever I change my nouns. However,
Mhm.
if someone calls himself an actress, I will call them an actress because that's clearly what they would
Right.
prefer to be called. Yeah. So I just say actor just because it puts everybody on the same level, and I
Mhm.
like for my female actors to be on the same level as male actors.
Okay. And that's perfectly that. So what's it like being I mean, so we all talk about it. So again, American fantasy, actress and actors. Um, I've been the victim of documentaries, not so much ever like that sort of thing, but uh, it sounds like first of all, it sounds like terribly hard work at times. But people go, it sounds easy. I mean, it depends where you're at in the world. But can you
Uh,
tell us what is it like to be, especially as a
Anybody
pagan?
yes, the P word comes out and everybody goes, "Eh."
Hmm.
It happens a lot. But being an actor, anybody who says it's not hard work has never really went far in acting.
Hmm.
Um, to be an actor, you have to learn to put on the mentality of someone else. I'm a what's called a technique actor. So what that means is I use just about any technique necessary to get into my character's role. I like to go outside in, so
Hmm.
I find something that my character would have, and then I use that to psychoanalyze the script that I have of the character. Why does this character use these words? Why does this character do this? And remembering, I play most of the time when I act, I play male version, not with the wig, not with the glasses, not with the makeup. I usually play males, and I play villain a lot. I'm either the villain or the fool. So the
Hmm.
important thing to remember if you're playing a villain is that the villain doesn't think they're a villain. They
No.
think they're the good guy and everybody else is the villain. So you have to think, why does this character think he's good? And then you have to start planning everything out and reread. Once you get a script, from the time from the time you get the script to the time you have the audition, you've read that script at least 30 times. And you got to learn how to wear that character like a meat suit. It is a personality that you carry with you, and every time I've played someone, I've brought a little piece of that character with me. It's just a collective thing.
Mm. So that's why I think so being able to wear that meat, as you said, the meat suit,
Yeah.
and the reason why these Best Actress awards and the Oscars take it full back is because for whatever reason they seem to have transcended themselves, and that's
I,
what it is.
I would use Austin Butler right now. I would use Austin Butler right now. I can talk about okay, I've got a couple of topics.
Hmm.
So Austin Butler right now can't shake that Elvis voice. And what it is he has had to speak like that for so long that it's become part of his own rhetoric. So he can't shake it because it's become a part of him. It's something that he's brought with him. And all actors do that. All actors take something of that character and we have to learn to put it in our little toolbox. We say, okay, we take this and we're going to put this down for the next time I need it. But it's really hard to shake that and it takes months to shake it after you spend months or sometimes years in a character's body or in a character's mind. It just has to become natural. Now, I'm not going to excuse Will Smith with his slap heard round the world. I'm not going to excuse him. But something that we do need to acknowledge is the psychology that went into all of this. Will Smith played a father to the Williams sisters, and he was hard on them, and the family dynamic was not easy. The family dynamic, he pushed those kids. because to get kids to be to that level, to be Olympians, you really have to push them, and it has to be about eating, sleeping, whatever subject you're trying to craft. So the relationship between Will Smith and his family became very hard over the years. And then when he got this character, it was just basically the straw that broke the camel's back. So he had not shaken everything from that character that he played in the Serena Williams biopic. He was still having these emotions run around. And that led to the problem with him thinking that his wife was being insulted instead of Chris Rock just making a joke to try to make the time go and try to make her a part of the show. So Will Smith then got up and slapped Chris Rock. Not excusing it, but the reason is because he still had a lot of emotions left over from this character that he was fresh from playing. He was touring. He did not have time to kind of ground himself. And that's something that actors have to do when we play a character, and it's not taught. It's not taught in a lot of acting lessons how to shake it off. I have a method called shake it off, and I literally come out and I shake. I also have a showering method that I use to cleanse that character's energy from me. But if an actor doesn't come out and have their own tradition, I'm not saying my traditions are the only way. What I am saying is that actors need a tradition to shed that character out of themselves psychologically.
So it almost sounds like for us in the magical world, egregor creation and then elimination of the possession of an egregor or a
Yes,
creation. Huh?
yes, absolutely. Very similar. That's actually where I got my tradition from.
Mm-hmm. Because I do know about people calling down personalities. There's a lot of different magical
Hmm.
techniques of everything from charm. I talk about people. So it's very similar because I have a magical thing about everybody has a superhero name. And what do we mean, superhero name? So, no, you make one up and you become the superhero. And people don't actually realize I have a superhero name. I use it all the time. It was given to me years ago by Gary Meyer and Ro Khan on WLSAM, 8:50, 70 a.m.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was 1995, early talk radio. Third or fourth time calling in. I'd have done some radio earlier in the year, a decade called Second Chicago Radio. Did that for a couple of years, but was calling in for talk shows. And he says, okay. And they said, well, after third or fourth, he said, we can't keep just calling you Ed. We need to call you something. Go, well, whatever you want. And because I was always answering pagan questions, they go, oh, we're going to introduce you Ed the Pagan.
Oh, that's
And they go,
cool. So that's where that came from.
yeah, it was never me creating it. It wasn't something I created. That's what they started calling me on WSAM radio. Whenever I would call in, I was Ed the Pig, and that became my radio kind of persona. And then in 98 or 97, AOL came out, 10 letters. So I put Ed the Pig in at AOL. And that's ever since. That's my, people don't realize a lot of times when I call it, that's my superhero. That's me as a super peg. And that's me out in the world.
That's
And I,
awesome.
and I was taught very early on, that's the persona that I wear. People would go, "Oh, is it really you?" Well, it's gotten to be more and more of me over the years.
Hmm.
It's really hard to tell the difference where one ends and begins. Um,
Yes.
this week really tested it. The last 2 weeks have really tested it for me. Um, but yeah, that was it. So I have this outer thing, and yeah, and somebody said, "Oh, Bowen Bars," and such and so on. Taking, all right, this is it. See if you can read that. That Bowen's a great friend of ours. He is high priest of Chosen Path Church. He's been taking over the Crystal Web project. Um, oh, Bowen's somebody we got to get on this air. I want to talk to Bowen, but I won't. I will have to get more permission from him first. He's putting his toes into all of this, and I'm so grateful for it. But so that's how. So people don't realize it. So for me, that's how I became Ed the Pagan. It is a media creation. It's been that way, and then people have been introducing me on those stages. Uh, I was not vain enough to create it for myself.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. Um, but for me as a non-actor, I can't, there's some changes in me when I go on that character, but I can't really ever find myself being, people have asked, why don't you go into acting? Why, you love this media? And I said, I can't memorize these things. I can't really be good at being other people. I'm just not good at it. Can you talk about that? I mean, because a lot of ritualists do. I mean, that's a practice of ritualists.
It is. It really is. And it's thank you, Bowen, for your comment. That makes me feel great. Um it really is pulling down this other energy so that you can embody it. And then you also have to learn what part of that energy is different from yourself
Hmm.
and what is alike. You need to have those clear outlines. What in this character, no matter what this character is, no matter how horrible that character may think that character is, what do we have in common? Because there's always at least one thing that you can find that you have in common. And I think having that common ground helps you with imbibing with that energy. Scripts are a different subject. Uh, learning your script, oh, it is fun. Now, my ritual for learning my script is I separate it into beats. Whenever the energy changes, I mark that. And this is called scoring your script. So I go through and I mark the different energy changes, and that helps me remember the lines in a certain emotion, and that emotion becomes memory for my muscles. So that when I'm automatically going through them, my muscles will move in a certain way that will put my body into a certain mindset. Um, I don't like to just learn them without that emotional help because uh, it makes my performance better. I never do a dull performance because it automatically puts my body ready to go, and then my mind hits a certain spot. You'll learn that most performers are like that. So if I'm doing stand-up comedy, before I go out, I always take 10 to 15 minutes to go off, get myself in what I need to be talking about, and then I come back and I hit the stage running so that I can hit all of my notes. Boom, 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 boom. Stand-up comedy, for me, I am a character of myself. So it's just like going into that practice of pulling on this character. All right, I've got to play Hamlet today. What do I need to do to get into Hamlet? Same thing, and I've already got these lines downloaded. Once we get the lines down, we kind of feel like we forget them, but really they're tucked away. And when you get keywords, that line will pop into your head. There have been moments where I've been talking with someone, and then I'll say something, and then a line comes straight out from a play, and I'll giggle and I'll look at them and I'll say, "Sorry, actor brain."
That's interesting. I mean, I've seen that when we've talked. I've gotten to talk to a number of actors over the years. I mean, of course, my life is done. I've done readings for them and things like that. But it is interesting, um, that idea that you can be triggered, kind of like you train it over and over again, and then it just pops out.
Yep,
That's very fascinating. All right, so we're going to talk about the last subject of the evening for folks. I know the Daily Spell can come out. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have Dee. And of course, I'm going to do another rant. Let's see what it is. With Dee, we're going to have a rant about, I think, a few things. Thursday is, of course, Tarot Thursday. We always love here on the Daily Spell Tarot Thursday. And Friday, I'm not sure yet. I'm working on something pretty special.
ooh.
Oh, yeah. I'm chasing down, well, I can say this much. I'm trying to chase down a Bigfoot story. Uh,
Ooh,
oh,
cool.
I love big feet. I have yet to see that, but I love big feet. But here it is. So the number one movie last year when me and Neil were going, me chasing the endless time, and me and Neil Goodman were going across, and the number one thing that people wanted to make, and they would even wanted to workshop on or do something like that, is a horror movie. The pagan community wants to create some sort of horror movie where the Christians are the bad guys, which are some of them.
I have a couple of scripts for that.
So I let you know. So for pagans, they really want to do a pagan. So so can you? So I look at it a couple different ways, but can you tell me what would be the motivation? Why would something like horror and make the Christians the bad guy and then deal with that be so pervasive? I mean, I heard this. I heard this several times. There's a few others. We want to do monsters. They want to do fairies. I mean, there's some other that, but that one I heard over and over, not from different groups. Hmm?
Can I pitch something your way, and we'll say
Sure.
this live and it's out there.
Hmm.
My idea, if you want to create a movie where the Christians are the bad guys, you have to create 2 layers of Christians.
Hmm.
Create the really, really tough Christians that really do like the Crusades and what the Crusades
Hmm.
brought. And then you have to take the Christians that just want to go to the mall and just want to pay their bills and just want to live in peace. And then you have to take the pagans and you have to bring them in with the regular Christians and have them pitted against the extremist Christians.
There you go.
And then you have an enemy that both sides do not like. I think that's the best way to do it. I've pitched ideas like that before, and people around the writing table, they go, but whenever I pitch this, because if we start off if we start
Hmm.
off with lots of Christians not liking the pagans because they don't know what we are.
Hmm.
They fear us because they don't understand us. But if you take a pagan character and you take a regular Christian character and you lock them in a situation where they have to figure something out, like maybe Pandora's box has opened and it's released fairies, and all of the pagans' mythology is real once again and roaming the world. What do you do now? You team up
Hmm.
with people. But there's a sect of people that's not going to want to team up with witches because witches are the bad guy. You can't trust them. So then you bring the two groups together to defeat what you think is mythology or the enemy. And then you have these other people that are the real enemy because they're worse than the monsters in the box. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the best way to do a horror film. And not only will it shine for pagans and show that, let's be honest, a Christian exorcism ain't worth a flip. They don't hold. But if you look at a lot of pagan exorcisms where we clear the negative energy by making it neutral, it works a lot longer. Our house blessings seem a lot a lot nicer because we're not trying to destroy something, we're trying to refine it. And
That's
I
an
think
interesting point.
I think what happens is that pagans and regular Christians see that we're not so different. We do have common ground and we are human beings. And the people that want to destroy something are the real bad guys.
There you go. That's one way to great look. I'm so glad we have it. So, how can people contact you if they want to find all of your
You can find
multi-talent
me on
stuff?
all of social media under the Lyz Tory, Lyztory.
Mhm.
Lyztory, the Lyz Tory. I run a studio called Meadow Wolf Studios. You can find us on YouTube and Pagan World TV. We're bringing you lots of things for Pagan World TV. I'm so excited for the projects that we have for that.
I am
Um,
too.
and I am always producing something, making something. I do live performances. This year, can I talk about this year's?
Sure.
This year for Halloween Samhain season, we're going to do a semi live version of War of the Worlds on Pagan World TV. It's going to be, I'm writing it, so it's going to be funnier than the original. It's gonna be loosely funny, and I'm hoping to bring in other people for this project, and it's gonna show a lot of my horror and comedic talents because I think horror and comedy breaks through a lot of glass ceilings that being dramatic doesn't.
War of the Worlds is one of my favorite stories, actually.
Oh my god,
Um,
yes.
I've watched every version of it from the Tom Cruise divorced dad, the terrible, oh, what was it, UPN
Oh
channel,
yeah,
and yeah, I think it's a classic story. I think it's a
it
really
is.
and it's been so. There was one, so yeah, you have to live up to it. This the one. What was it? The World War I one where they came in and they invaded during World War I. Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
episodes of it. So yeah, I think the World is a great story. I think so. I'm looking forward to that because it I think it tells something different what their people fear in each generation.
it does. It's
Hmm.
relatable on a human level.
Yeah, it's the overwhelming. What happens when something overwhelming beyond your comprehension happens?
Yes.
So I'm
It
looking forward to that.
You talked about new chapters and you believe in the decade thing. I feel
Hmm.
like War of the Worlds has that ability to bring in a new chapter every generation, and it's something we can continue to share.
Yep.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me on this show. It was so much fun.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad to do it. This is the Daily Spell. It's our nightly kind of talk show across our boards. We're looking constantly for talent as we develop into this sort of mesh society. We're about to, people always ask me, "What am I doing?" I said, "This is what I'm doing next." This is, I moved off from being all the witch school stuff. And all great hands. I mean, fantastic hands. But they need to get me out of the way because they don't need me there. The old guy, they've got all their own talents. They got all their own ideas. And now I'm actually technically CEO of Pagan World Project, which is LTD, which is about bringing kind of this idea of communication. And I'm really grateful to have you. You bring to us, Liz, a amount of energy and understanding. So one of the things I think you bring to our team and things, an understanding of how um, the energy of Hollywood works, how some of this stuff works out there. That we're not really relatable. We're a bunch of amateurs working our way up to semi-pro. Yeah, but I really love the energy that you bring in and some of the talents you bring
Thank you
in.
so much. I would like to say that ever since I was in my early 20s, which is when I first met y'all, and I got to get into this world. It was a pagan pride picnic that I met y'all on, and
Actually, it was more particular than that. Let's go ahead and tell them what it was. We held so which school went to grade school, and we held a trivia tournament,
yes,
and this was the winner.
yes, yes.
I mean, that's how it happened. Showed
Oh
off
my
your
god.
brilliance right away. I mean, you
I
won for
I
grade
have
school.
it's been an amazing part of my life seeing y'all grow the way that you have under yours and Reverend Don's leadership. It's just
Hmm.
beautiful. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Me too. Um, and so with that, so folks, we will be back again tomorrow. Thank you, Liz, for being here. Tomorrow we
Thank
will
you.
be back, and we'll be back tomorrow. And I think we got Father D supposed to come on. I think we're gonna have a bit of a rant. What could it be about? Join us tomorrow night, and remember, Tarot Thursday's coming. Get your requests in. All right, folks. Blessed be. Until tomorrow.